Firstly, I'd just like to recognise the traditional owners of the land we gather on here today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and future. We're transitioning to a clean energy future, but we're not doing it anywhere near fast enough. On the slide here, we're seeing that we're generating at the moment a touch over 1,000 terawatt hours of solar and 10,000 terawatt hours of renewables. In the context of our global electricity generation currently, it is less than 30% renewables and less than 3% solar. When you put that in the context of our global energy demand currently, it is a tiny fraction of what we're requiring as a civilization. When you put that into the context of what the Earth is going to require as civilizations grow and society develops, this is not to scale. We quickly get to over a exawatt hour of energy demand by humans. I actually got the slide wrong. Our CTO recently corrected me. It's not a perawatt hour, it's an exawatt hour. This is forecast within our lifetime. Forecasts vary. It's between 2040, 2050 or so. Fortunately, we have all of the tools we need to solve that problem. The sun is an incredibly abundant resource. We have electrification pathways that can convert electricity into all of the same sources we currently use for that primary energy demand on the last slide. We also have the ability to capture that energy, convert it to electricity and transform it into that energy required. Historically, we've seen phenomenal cost reductions in solar PV, predominantly driven by the module level. And that is seen from 2005, modules at $5 a watt, reducing down to modules now, which are, depending on your most recent quote, a hell of a lot less than that. This is a slide that shows the latest kind of status of solar energy. It's out of date already because things in the solar industry get out of date very quickly. And we're seeing that solar PV is now, or has already been for a year or so, the lowest cost form of new electricity generation in the world compared to coal and gas. What we need to do, however, is not just replace coal and gas as electricity generation, but replace primary energy demand from all of the other resources as well as electricity generation. And that means taking where we are now from our very competitive cost base into a whole next generation of how cheap solar can get. And that's what we're highlighting there in the yellow sun-like bubble underneath the bar graphs there, approaching energy in the range of $10 to $20 a megawatt hour. The scale we have to reach to do that is absolutely phenomenal. To walk us into that, I've provided this on a logarithmic scale, first of all. This shows a current build rate at about 120 gigawatt per annum at the moment, approaching a terawatt in 2030. This is based on kind of relatively conservative assumptions in the industry currently. When we put that on a linear scale, that shows the ramp up that we need to achieve from 2020 to 2030. Now bear in mind that what happened from 2000 to 2020 has already been an outrageous, insane growth in the industry. And you can see here going from 2020 to 2030 to capture the opportunity and the requirement for our primary energy there from solar gets us up to a terawatt, 10 times what we're doing today. Now, that only gets us to 10% of our current primary energy demand, and that doesn't even account for the growing energy demand into the future. So that's about 100th of the total solar that we could be building to satisfy that total energy demand. To do anything of that kind of magnitude, we're talking about a build rates in the industry that eclipse anything that anyone has ever imagined before. And approach wartime logistics, to borrow an expression from Sun Cable's CEO. Gigawatt scale projects around the world, fortunately, due to visionary leaders in the industry, ourselves not included, our customers definitely included, or future hopeful customers, are becoming more and more commonplace. Tens of gigawatts are being thrown around now. I haven't yet heard a terawatt, but it will happen soon, I'm sure. We just mentioned a moment ago that we need to get to over 100 terawatts to satisfy the current energy demand. That quickly becomes a perawatt. petawatt to satisfy growing energy demand. So you can see that we need to bite that off in some really big chunks, and we need to do that really quickly. Quite fortuitously, there's a lot of that concentrated in Australia, unsurprisingly. We're working on the 14 gigawatt Sun Cable project. Fortescue have plans for over 100 gigawatts of solar PV in Australia. Asian Renewable Energy Hub has plans for many gigawatts, and that's just to mention Australia. The way we're going to do that is not by building solar in the traditional way. Traditional solar has brought down a fairly amazing cost curve to where we are now, but in the context of where we need to go, both in terms of the cost and also the speed of deployment, it is slow, labour intensive and risky. Gigawatt scale solar needs to be prefabricated, it needs to be rapidly deployed, it needs to be lowest cost, it needs to be fastest, it needs to be easiest, it needs to be safest. It needs to approach and be able to enable national mobilisation that looks like wartime logistics. Our Maverick solution uses 80% less labour on site, it's 5 to 10 times faster in deployment, uses 1.5 to 2 times less land for energy generated, or 1.5 to 2 times more energy generated for the same amount of land area. And at the moment we believe it's about 10% less than prevailing solutions and is rapidly falling. This is our current solution, and this is a proof point for where we're going to take our solution into the future. Our Maverick solution has always been designed to solve for massive uptake. I'm not going to claim that we imagine that we would be building a petawatt of solar in our lifetime, or even gigawatt scale projects when we founded our business. But we've always based our technology on the ability to take modules from the factory that are getting cheaper and cheaper and get them into the field in operating projects in the fastest, lowest cost, lowest risk way possible. We've borrowed off the success in the solar PV module industry in that cost curve came down predominantly because all of the work was put into factories and the dial was turned up. As modules get lower and lower cost, and as they get larger and larger, prefabrication also makes more and more sense. As land gets more and more constrained, which in Australia today is hard to imagine, in a 100 gigawatt future in Australia is very easy to imagine, we need more and more energy dense solar arrays, which goes to east-west configurations. We need to leverage off automation to make that kind of scalability even remotely possible. And as labour costs increase, and also shortage of labour increases, and we start to hit system limits in how we can actually build that amount of solar quickly, we have to be putting that labour in the most productive place possible, and we have to be automating it. Just going to show a quick video of what we believe that looks like on a 12 megawatt project we've recently deployed. Video man. I'm going to finish up there to not take some punchlines away from Sun Cable's presentation later this afternoon, but hopefully I've shared a snapshot of what we believe the future of solar looks like and got people excited about petawatts and exawatt hours.